From the caves of the Crab Conspiracy to the stars of the Crab Nebula, I bring you the Decapod.
Thanks, computer lady, for letting me know that.
Oh, did she let me know that recording is in progress?
She said she did. She said recording in progress.
What's up, dude?
What's going on, man?
Chilling. I just picked up my car from the shop, and it's alive.
It's alive. It's functional. Were you able to drive it back?
Yeah, dude. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, actually, I dropped off this morning, and it died like a block from the fucking shop, and they had to help me push it. So, thank God.
Whew, at least it was only a block, but yeah, still that's a pain in the ass. Hopefully it wasn't uphill. So
yeah. I don't know. Like the radio was. I was at a light, and I was like, the radio was dying, and I was like, fuck, you know.
just kind of like flickering on, doing that
Yeah.
thing.
The fucking signaling.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, thanks for doing this, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm writing a CrabCon article about like getting freelance, getting your foot in the door, getting opportunities. Because I myself, I'm trying to get more freelance stuff, trying to transition out of this side gig I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I actually started reaching out more because I've been like kind of just comfortable using this side gig and then just doing mostly BARC stuff, which was my goal for the last 5 years. But now I want to, kind of get back into gaining most of my money from art and doing freelance. So I started reaching out. I got an editorial gig, and I got another little editorial gig coming up right now. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And for myself, I want to gain some knowledge and some tips and tricks from a couple of people, and also I think obviously everybody would benefit from these things.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
And so from what I know and what I see from you, a lot of your work is inspired by video games, and even your professional freelance work. I think a lot of your work comes from either like toys and video game worlds, or what would you say, what industry kind of do you do a lot of professional freelance work for?
I've actually been able to like hone it down so recently. So like the jobs that I take now and the way that I like am starting to like just promote myself across all platforms and stuff is like an artist. I make art for games, toys, and comics, right? Like,
yeah.
And usually those overlap, but just to kind of like put it, because that's the stuff I'm making, and that's the stuff I like to make. So just kind of started honing it together and like figuring out exactly what my niche is, or that kind of thing. And so I've been doing a lot of like, I stepped back from it a lot recently because of all the crazy shit that happened and so on and so forth. But I'm kind of like doing research now and like watching a bunch of Skillshare and that kind of stuff, like trying to like
on what kind of things,
like marketing and like kind of harnessing your social media, like the stuff that I kind of just devoured was the Andy J Pizza stuff. I don't know if you know that guy, like that does a creative pep talk and all that. And I'm pretty sure like those classes are just like a condensed version of like what he's talking about on his podcast for the last however long he's been doing it. But I hadn't actually gotten onto that podcast until like literally after I saw these things on Skillshare, and I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. He's saying the same things like pretty much a lot of other people were, because I watched a couple of other videos, or at least like tried to watch a couple of the intros or whatever to kind of get a feel for what they were trying to offer. And it's all kind of the same thing, but he was like speaking my language, like he made it more interesting and entertaining and kind of made it more digestible for me.
I had watched. Oh, give me 1 second. My brother is at the door.
Yeah. Ding. Gotta let him in. Let the bro. That's nice though. Not letting them hang. Sorry, bro. I'm currently interviewing somebody. You're just gonna have to wait outside.
Okay, my bad.
No worries.
So,
yeah, like I've been listening to those, and it's kind of helped me kind of look back inward and kind of figure out what I'm what I want to do and zeroing in on and that kind of stuff. But it's all kind of stuff that I've already been doing. It's just kind of like reaffirms, like, oh yeah, this is kind of what you need to focus on, and this is the kind of stuff
like
that
social media marketing
or just like like harnessing that creative power to take sort of like a less traditional approach to making money, right?
Is that the video that you just did, is that kind of not a rebound, an effect of kind of listening to that stuff?
Yeah, that's just me like poking around. Like I'm like, okay, well, I've taken a break from social media for a long time. Actually, I've been getting steady like freelance gigs, but I'm not like posting anything about them or doing anything. I just kind of been like took a break from social media altogether. But I'm coming around now to a point where I'm like, well, I think I can try to harness this thing a little better, be a little more organized about it. But also, part of me is like, just don't run into the same mistakes you did and get overwhelmed like you have before.
Are you so these freelance gigs you're talking about, are you reaching out to getting them, or are they coming to you?
Most of them came to me.
Okay.
From just doing the social media stuff, like posting video game art and that kind of things. And so yeah, like basically all of the reoccurring freelance gigs that I got, one being the toy creator, the Jesse DeStasio, he does the toys, and the other being like indie game developers. Like I did one for one guy, and then they're the indie game community is like a very tight-knit group and stuff like that. So like I worked well with this one guy, and he's like, oh, I think you do good with this guy. So kind of like branched, and it was like an organic kind of pitch to that guy. And so yeah, I've been working with that guy for about a year now on his stuff, and both of them, they went through Kickstarter, and so they had like the funds to be able to like be like, okay, here's money down and something for every piece that you make. So that kind of helped me kind of just like float by while I've been sort of chilling on social media. But there's also that it's so tumultuous, so I'm trying to find something that's a little more steady, a little more reliable.
Right. And so let's go back a bit now. So like what I had thought was kind of true, that your work is a lot of the freelance work you do is based on video games and toys and comics. And it's really cool because it's obviously stuff that you grew up liking and doing, right? So you've kind of turned your passion your work, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that all kind of came out of the workshop with Dan, like just kind of like drawing from your personal mythology, and thinking it back to as an artist, right? Like we all drew, even like artists and non-artists, we all drew as kids, right? But like some of us kind of like held on to it and kept doing it. Me being one of those kids, like I'm thinking back to, well, why did I keep drawing in the first place? What was the things that I like drawing? And it was like, oh, it's the reactions you got from it, but also it was like the just experience of sitting there with my friends while they're playing this game, right? Like this new game that they got, and I'm flipping through the game manual, and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool picture, and I like try to draw that while they're like playing. because a lot of the games back then were just one player or whatever. So it's just like take your turn, wait for it, and that kind of stuff. So in between turns, I'd be doodling, and so that was like a visceral experience for me, like just like enjoying the moment and like drawing something, and they're like, oh yeah, look at that, oh man, you drew that really cool, and then going back. And so taking the workshop, that kind of helped me tap into those memories and those experiences, and that kind of unlocked this sort of like, oh, just draw the really nostalgic stuff, and that helps make the drawing fun again. And when you're drawing and it's fun, I think that comes across, and it's more unique and authentic, and that in turn people pay attention to or whatever. So I think those like video game, me starting to draw in that kind of like video game manual style really started kind of turning people's heads. And they reached out. They just like hit me up in a DM, or were like, hey, I think this style is perfect for what I'm trying to do with this, and so on and so forth. So
Oh, really cool. As so do you think or was it from the workshop you started doing more freelance? What were you doing before the workshop, or were you always doing freelance illustration like that?
I wasn't doing freelance in any sense where it was like I was relying on that as income. It was more like maybe twice a year I would get like some random, hey, this friend has this art thing that they want to do. Can you do that? And so it was like, oh yeah, cool. And I always draw, like that's just always been something I did for fun, and I've always tried to make some kind of career out of it. I worked as a caricature artist at the zoo. Just it's like, oh, I need to pay the bills, and this is something I can do with my art. And I worked at a museum, not necessarily making art for the museum, but hanging up people that made art, and learning the ins and outs of that, and like that led to being a curator's assistant and blah blah blah. So it was always art adjacent, but never quite what I wanted to do, which as a kid was like either making cartoons, comics, or like video games or something like that. The art for video games, because the box art and stuff like that was really fun. Even the really wonky, stupid box art has sort of like a special place in my heart. But yeah, so I don't know. I tap into those, and that's what keeps it fun. And sometimes I get into these like weird, the pits that everybody kind of goes through, where you have like your I'm on it, and then you just have no inspiration, no ambition to get up and start drawing or anything like that. And whenever I get in those pits, I usually start drawing Ninja Turtles. Like recently in the CrabCon chat, like I was posting those. I'm like, that's me getting out of the pit. And those kind of re-sparked that fun of drawing again. And so I've been kind of trying to hit the ground running.
So that's exactly kind of leads into my next question that I thought about while you're talking. But first, so it seems like the workshop was really a jump off point. It's something that gave you a portfolio maybe that you felt was strong enough to either reach out or attract clients, right?
Yeah. It did it. And like while we were doing the workshop, we're posting our things online anyway. And like even the album one, I did 311, and they fucking like they took it and shared it, and I was like, oh shit, look at that, like that's crazy. That was like, it was a lot of things like that were lining up during the workshop, and it was just like an affirmation that I was on the right path. And so things would snowball and then kind of flatten out, snowball and flatten out, so on and so forth. And I've just kind of been riding the wave, hoping that I'll keep it going.
That's awesome, man. And so that's been what year did you do the work?
Oh, when did I do it? Was it I think it was 2018. Nice. I did the workshop.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of rounds now since then.
Yeah. I was round 4.
So when you're posting this work, and also you do a lot of fan art, but do you use, like, technically, do you use hashtags? Do you tag?
My wife and I were kind of having this discussion today, like, like about pleasing the algorithm and that kind of stuff, like trying to find the right hashtags and that kind of stuff.
kind of mutating and
And
evolving, so it's hard, but
yeah, and I think there is definitely something to that, and doing the research, and it's good to have a general idea of like the right kind of hashtags for the content that or the audience, and the content that you're trying to get to the audience, and that kind of stuff. It obviously has to be relevant, but I was telling her today, like, now when I'm posting, if I spend more than 5 minutes trying to think of hashtags or doing like that, it's like I've spent too long on hashtags. Like that is way too long to spend on the hashtags. A lot of people have the copy paste in their notes and stuff like that, and that might be something to look into. But I just feel like there's got to be a better way. Like I'm trying to free myself of appeasing the algorithm. I'm just gonna try to reach like more deep connections. I'm not trying to get like numbers and likes. I'm trying to get more like engagements and connections like with people. So I think
so it's
that's
not
really
something that you ignore. You play with it, but it's not something you're
yeah. I think it's really important for people that are more numbers based, like they're just trying to reach a wide audience, but also like you gotta really try to narrow it down. Like you're not gonna make something that the entire world loves, right? Like you're gonna make something that like a thousand people say, like, make something for that one person, right? Like just try to shoot for one person, and that makes it more feasible, and that's more attainable, and that's a better, I think, overall philosophy. Sometimes, and well, most of the time when I'm drawing that or making art, it is I'm that one person I'm making it for. So but I share a lot of the same tastes with a lot of people. So
I think that's number one importance, is that you do the art for yourself. And follows through. Okay, so when
don't get bogged down chasing the algorithm or getting too worried about like the numbers, like, oh, I'm not reaching as many people this with this one. I think it's good to have a sense of it, but also like that is one of the quickest way to lead to burnout.
It's so crazy that how many people you see online just feels like a weird flu, like I'm burnt out from social media, taking time off social media.
It's a real thing. Like
it's more real now than ever. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
It feels, I mean, maybe it's because we've been in it for so long now, but it feels so much like like a weird like little illness sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and it's like a mental illness for sure. Like it affects you mentally, and it shuts you down physically. So yeah, and a lot of that is kind of like moderation is the key to life, right? Like you just got to try to moderate it, but it can be hard because all of these things are like you are designed to make you want to like keep posting, keep the drive going. And a lot of people are just always on their shit and posting every single day, and you're like, I gotta try to keep up with that. And that's what I'm trying to do right now, is like just free myself from that kind of anxiety. Like just get out of that.
I've definitely come off it a bit over the past year or so, and just kind of, I mean, also again, like because I'm not looking to attract too many people from social media as clients. It's not as much of I feel like a necessity for me, but I mean, just as you said, you have gotten a lot of your clients from social.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a
all of them.
It really is like a source. It's a fishing net,
Yeah. And instead of thinking of it like as this, I don't know, robotic algorithm you got to feed, like I think of it as like a living portfolio. Instead of trying to drive people to your own website and that kind of stuff, people are already on there. So it's like that's where your portfolio can live, and you keep it interesting by putting more of what you're working on there, or little tidbits and teasers of the big thing that you're doing and that kind of stuff. So
it feels like it's really a valuable resource, but we have to acknowledge how dangerous it can be for our mind. and just keep
And
a
that,
healthy relationship with it, right? But it's
I think
difficult.
that
It's easier said
sickness
than
like
done.
is becoming more common, you
Yeah.
know, like you see it a lot more now, like you were saying. So like I feel like from that we're going to start developing better like habits, or at least like we'll know the flags, the red flags that start coming up, and be able to kind of counteract it. Go for a walk. Turn off the phone.
Yeah. Okay, but I wanted to ask you. I think fan art is kind of a really important lore for this, but it's also something very fun for an artist to do. How important is that to you in terms of attracting clients? Again, like I'm gonna keep saying that because
No, well, and that's what it like kind of retains to. But it, you know, fan art is, I think, one of the first things I personally started drawing. Like the first drawings I did were like Ninja Turtles when I was like 2, with just like weird finger paints and stuff like that. So it's always just like me drawing what I like, you know.
Right.
And I think there's already an audience, or you know, there is already an audience there, so that's why it's sort of like an easy in. There's not as many gatekeepers, so to speak, blocking your work from getting in front of these people. And there's more people like looking for that existing material in general, so that it's kind of naturally falls in front of people instead of the original stuff, because less people are you know, going out there actively looking for the original stuff. They have the things they like and they want to continue looking at that. But so sometimes it becomes just like, all right, well, yeah, that is cool. You like that, you might like this too.
Yeah, it's a gate. Yeah, I feel it's a gateway. But do you feel that is it an actual gateway? Have you seen actual results from posting and doing fan art? And do you see a transfer of those fans? Is it a real thing?
Yeah,
I would imagine so. Yeah.
I think it's more of an active community, like fans in general, and especially nowadays, like pop culture has like is the culture, so to speak, and like a lot of people are sharing their experiences about this show or this story or this book or this game and so on and so forth with other people. And when you see a cool piece of art that somebody else does their interpretation of it or whatever, it kind of like offers this this platform for people to like, oh well, now we can reopen this conversation, this is fun to talk about. And it's one of the things I noticed, like going back and actually doing a little bit of research on my Instagram and TikTok, and like the things that I've done, looking at the posts that have the most engagement, not necessarily the most likes, but the most like comments and stuff, are all like fan art.
Yeah.
It's all like the stuff that's like Ninja Turtles or Zelda, especially Zelda. People love talking about. I love talking about Zelda. Zelda's great. It's a good game. It's a good series of games, but it's a conversation piece, and the value there is, or the value of that is already there. So I guess it's a good, like you said, it's a good gateway to it, and I have seen return from it. You know, just drawing my version of Double Dragon, like, and the really like weird blocky sprites that it had from like the NES, like a lot of the stuff, like I would just kind of like draw my version of that, and it kind of evoked this sort of like that offbeat manual art that you would see. It doesn't quite match, you know, like the actual art that goes with the game. It's like they paid somebody else like outside, like, hey, can you draw like how to explain how to press B, you know, and punch or something, you know, that kind of thing. And yeah, like I guess people remember that, they want to talk about that, and it starts an engagement, or it starts conversations and that kind of thing. So so from there, other people they share it, right, like, and they keep the conversation going. And so that it's a great way to, I think, get eyeballs on your work. Not necessarily something you want to just like that's not the goal, right? Is to
Yeah,
just make
no.
fan art. No, that's not my goal. It might be somebody else's, which I think is fine. It's feasible. You can make a pretty decent living, but you got to be careful because, you know, the big three might come down with that cease and desist, right? Like,
Yeah.
and hit
Yeah,
you with
yeah.
it.
But I think it's what stood out to me about what you said is that you have definitely seen a return, and
Mhm.
that's good to know. That's good to know, you know, that
Mhm.
there's value to it, and and it's really fun to do. You know, I really like.
Yeah, like it gets back to that core feeling of a kid of like getting excited about something like a toy or something you just got, and then like drawing in your notebook. So um and it personally just helps me sit my butt down and draw, like doing that kind of stuff. The toy things, especially. Jordan and I just went to this like toy show, uh, like last weekend, a few
You guys met
days
up?
ago or whatever.
You
Yeah,
guys,
yeah. He's,
oh,
I
cool.
mean, he's just in Raleigh, and he was debating on going to the show that's in Asheville anyway. And I'm like, well, just crash at our place. We're on
Nice,
the way. So
nice.
yeah, we went there and got some toys and
What'd
stuff.
you guys pick up? What'd you guys pick up?
We got he knew a couple of guys there.
Was it just like in like independent toys?
Yeah, it's
Vinyl,
all
you
independent
get all that?
toys.
Nice, nice.
Well, not as many vinyl. It was mostly like action figure, like
Cool.
plastic kind of toys and whatnot. Um, but
Yeah, dude, I just got this in. Got good.
yeah, no, I saw that. It looks fucking sick. It does look a lot bigger, like holding it in
It's
your hand.
it's it's like
What is that?
it's bigger
Like
than I thought. It's a
six,
magnet.
6 inches tall or
Yeah, I
five
think it's
five and a half?
five and a half, 6 inches.
Mhm.
But a lot of stuff like this, like just independent artists and stuff.
Yeah, and like, you know, it was a pretty good turnout, like pretty good showing and diverse tables and stuff like that. But the toy company that I did work for is like a Glios compatible, or a Glios space, which is sort of like this toy system or whatever, so you can like mix and match like
Yeah, yeah,
heads and
for sure.
arms and legs
Yeah,
and so on
yeah.
and so forth. So yeah, like we picked up a couple of different pieces from a couple of different artists, and we just like came back to the house and like opened our bags, and we're like putting
Nice.
them together and like making these little dudes, and it was tons of fun. And yeah, that just made me like, I'm like, yeah, I really love this color scheme, so I want to draw this guy. So that's like the recent post that I did. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
The video is really good with the
yeah,
yeah.
the reels. I haven't fucked around with reels too much, so
Reels
I'm
gets a lot of good. I hate that we're like talking so technically about social media, but I think
mm,
it's an important thing. And again, as long as we stay healthy with the relationship, which is very hard to do, but
yeah.
I think talking about the technicality and the techniques of social media is kind of something I haven't heard too much about. So
Mhm.
it's interesting to me, but I really like what you did with that video. Like you like the toy actually comes apart and then comes in, and then you transition it into the drawing, and then
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of people do that. Like they'll have like their blank page, right? And they snap, and then it's like the finished piece of artwork. So I was like, oh, okay, well, let's do that, but with the toy, you know. And Glios is like all segmented and compartmentalized like that. So it was easy to kind of just like, I didn't have any idea what I was going to do until I put the toys down. I'm like, oh, let's do this.
and I think something I want to talk about too with you is that the importance of trends. These in modern day, following trends on social media is cool. You know, kind of like, I don't know, like growing up, kind of being like a hipster and not following trends is one thing, and there's a place and something to be said for doing something unique. But it seems like today, especially this TikTok era,
Mhm.
you're really meant to follow the trend but put your own twist in it, or
Yeah.
it's just it's really interesting to just, yeah, I find it really interesting that everybody just hops on this trend and then you just do it your own way. I don't know, there's something to
Right.
that I just wanted to say.
It's so weird. Like my first knee jerk reaction is always to be like, yeah, no, don't
Exactly,
do
yeah.
that. Don't, stay away from the trendy stuff. Like, don't do that. But almost almost every single time when I finally cave, like when uh uh, uh I think you can see way back in the things, like I was totally against going on TikTok, and then like I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And then it was like, oh shit, like one of my things like at 100,000 fucking views, and like 20,000 comments, and I'm like, shit, oh, okay, this is a decent way to get eyeballs on your work. Like, it's fleeting for sure. Like, it's all like, scroll through super quick. But I mean, if you're just trying to get people to see your stuff, like, that's a great way to do it. Like, that's not the end all be all for sure, but I think what's important is each social media thing is its own tool. They're each like good for their own things or whatever. And I'm still trying to figure out how to fucking do it, right? Like, I just keep trying something.
Yeah, of course. It's all trying, and I think they're all resources for us to use and to also consume. I mean, we're
yeah,
you got to think about what we consume also. I'm looking at those trends all day too. I'm like, well, that's a cool one,
yeah,
but
I haven't touched my TikTok in a while. Like, I'm scared to make any other kind of content on there besides doodle facts, because like they just kind of, I'm like, oh, would that like ruin the thing? Like, would that alienate? But another part of me is like, just fuck it, just put whatever on TikTok, and then like, scale it for Instagram, recycle your shit and keep it going. Like, don't put too much thought and effort into it, just do it.
it's so consuming again.
And I think that's really, like, it comes down to trying to schedule, like, okay, I'm putting this much time into this, and once I reach that goal, you're done. You're cut off. What you got's what you get. Like, if it's not good enough for you to post, don't post it. You missed a post, whatever, don't do it.
Recently my relationship has been, I'll post kind of just whenever I feel like it. And I think I've gotten to the point where I have enough followers that I'm not feeling like I don't have a lot.
That's the thing. It's not necessarily about getting like a bunch of followers. It's about getting like a few people that really like what you're doing. Like, if you can get a couple of good people that really hone in on what you're doing, that's all you really need. And that's why, like, I don't have a huge following on Instagram. I have like 1,300 or something like that. I don't know. But like, right when I got around like 900 or so, that's when people would like DM me about stuff and so on and so forth. So I got a couple of people that were interested in what I was doing, and I just kind of worked it from there. And just
that's really great to know. I'm glad that you said that too, because you always think you need like 10K followers to get all this business and stuff.
And that's
do something with social media, and like that, it's worth nothing unless you have 10K. But right there, you're getting jobs off of Instagram, and you've been doing it since 2018, since you did the workshop, and that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, that skill, I don't know if you have Skillshare or whatever, but totally check out that Andy J Pizza thing.
I wanted to come back to that.
Like, because like he talks about one of the co-founders of Wired or whatever did this like article back in 2008 about 1,000 true fans. Like, it's basically his whole deal was like, you don't need like millions of followers or thousands of followers. Like, you don't need to be celebrity to be famous or to be successful. You just need 1,000 true fans. And so like, that's how Andy kind of frames the whole thing, is basically like, get 100 or 1,000 people that are willing to pay you $100 a year, right? Like, and when you break it down to like that, it makes it a little bit more obtainable. It's like, oh, that's $100,000 a year. Like, that's a decent living. I could live off of that for sure. Obviously you're not going to be able to like get 1,000 true fans.
It's a fraction of the actual follower number that you have.
Right. Yeah. It's about making like those more deep connections and engagements with people that are like, to make them feel like you're worth investing at least $100 a year, which is attainable, right? Like, if you do a Patreon or something like that, that's like an $8 tier. Like, if you get 1,000 people paying you $8 every month or whatever, that's $100,000. So, that's like, again, that when I heard that, I was like, oh, that makes it a lot more sense. So, and that's already kind of like what I was doing. Again, it just kind of like affirmed what I was working with and that kind of stuff. Like, focus on the relationships and the people that are actually you know, in the thing with you on your level, not necessarily like, you know, reaching out to stars and stuff like that. Go for the people that are like the same follow count as you or whatever, and you know, like, and see and collaborate and that kind of deal. So
Yeah.
And yeah, like, you know, getting true fans means, you know, going out there and actually interacting with people and being a true fan for other people and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
but
Good.
I think yeah, no, that's kind of like the idea is like, just like, oh, it's a little easier. Like, oh, you, I'm gonna shoot for 10 people to actually sign up for my Patreon at like a $5 level or something like that. And that's an easier goal to shoot for than say like, I want to try to get 50K followers on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that'll come organically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and if it doesn't, that still like you can kind of like work that, right? Kind of push those numbers around, change them, that kind of deal. Like, oh, I only need 100 people to pay me $1,000, you know, that kind of thing. So, and that could apply to like individual jobs, right? Like if you just like go out and find a bunch of people to pay you for an illustration gig, that's at, you know, $500 or $800 or whatever, that kind of
Right.
thing.
It kind of makes up for that money.
Mhm.
Yeah, I found that I've been, you know, attacking this fine art world, gallery world, you know, for most of my time over the past 5 years. And I found that social media has been a great tool for meeting people in person and communicating with gallery people and connecting with the community, because it's really hard to break in. But no, I think it's a great tool to meet people.
It kind of gets your foot in the door, right?
Exactly.
And then you meet them in person, and that's like an actual connection. Like that, I think people sometimes get lost on like, I just have to make the post and then, you know, like leave it, right? It's like, no, you make the post, and then when people reply, like reply back to them, have a conversation with them, especially if it's a meaningful reply, not just like fire emojis, right? Like somebody's doing an actual critique or something.
It's I mean, even beyond social media, like this fucking conversation has been taken over by social media.
It has, man. And that's mostly my fault, because I have been fucking just absorbing way too much.
But it's also I think it's good that it went in this direction, because like you said, you get a lot of your jobs from Instagram, and it's great to get your perspective as a person that does, you know. But beyond Instagram, I was playing this game called Den of Worms. It's like an indie game on Steam. It's this weird 3D, 2D pixel game, right? Yankee, but I love it. It's like, it's really just weird game. And I haven't finished it yet, but I emailed the guy and I was like, yo, I love your game, blah, blah, because he has a website and he has this really depressive like descriptions of just like, I could totally feel him as a, you know, depressed artist, just like pouring his life into this game. His company is called like Screaming Into the Void, and he's like, I do my work and I feel like I'm screaming into the void, right? And I messaged him. I was like, hey man, I really like your stuff, your game, and you know, I feel like sometimes I'm screaming into the void too, and I really, you know, relate to that sentiment. And he messaged me back, and he happened to be in New York, close to where I live, and I was like, yo, let's meet. He was like, let's meet up sometime and hang out, you know, maybe collaborate on something. So that was really organic, and I was just really wanted to just compliment him on like this game because as we talked about a little bit, I was thinking about making a game, and then I realized like, I don't want to fucking spend my life.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So then I wanted to like boost him up and be like, I played your game, man, you know. so yeah, that was again, like after you know, you can eat, you can have your place, you can have fun. It's good to meet people and just like, you know, give them some juice and
yeah.
Like,
for sure. Like, yeah, but like be generous with your shit, you know, like get out there and help folks out. Like that probably made that dude's day. Like if somebody reached out to me like that, was like, hey, I played your shit or whatever, you know, like that, I'd fucking go
For
nuts.
sure.
I
For
would.
sure.
That's why I made this game.
Yeah. I thought about that. I was like, yeah, this guy's gonna be juiced up about it. Dude, so let's talk about Knobbywood and what's going on in the Knobbywood Tower and everything and your world and some projects. What you got going on?
So currently, I'm trying to diversify my portfolio. Not really. I think I mentioned it before, but like having like tiny little micro like things, like Redbubble and the Roll20 marketplace, like things like that are just residual income that just keeps coming in.
Yeah.
I've been really trying to like refocus on that and like how I can kind of boost that up a little bit so that it's like a little bit more residual income without having to put too much extra work on my plate. It's just good to keep it fresh and keep it alive. I've noticed a pretty decent return just from having that kind of like, post a couple of really simple art things on Roll20 marketplace, or like take one of the marker drawings that you did and make it into a sticker on Redbubble or something like that. Something that takes no time other than just like cut out your art that you already made and put it up on a website somewhere.
It's passive income resource.
Yeah, exactly. Just to have those, and like sometimes, like you forget about them, and then all of a sudden you get a PayPal notice. It's like, I just got $61 this month for no reason. It's like, that's not too bad. All right, sweet. Let's go get something nice to eat, or I got gas, for another week, or so on and so forth. Even though I try not to drive as much as possible, but I've been doing that, refocusing on that, and then also trying to just generate more content for my social media, get back on the wagon, and like be like, hey, I'm this is me, this is who I am, this is the content that I make, and kind of refresh it. It needs a refreshing anyway, so I've been kind of like gearing up to do some of that. Probably be a lot more toy things. I oh shit, hold on. I don't. I think I showed it off in the general chat. I went and picked up some Ninja Turtles today at Walmart.
I think I'm gonna post a video too. So,
so I was getting toilet paper and eye drops and things we needed, and then decided to, as I always do, walk through the toy aisle because I like to see what's going on.
Oh my god, me too, dude. Target. I can't go to Target, man. I can't go to Target.
Oh god, I always it sucks because I'll pick up like if they have a new like tech deck ramp or something. I'm like, it's only like $10.
I know, it's so dangerous.
But yeah, like I saw a little, the Raphael Ninja Turtle, and
so
it's like a remake of the old original ones from the 80s. So I was like, oh great. So I picked him up because we were going to get them a while ago, but they were just like sold out super quick. And when I picked them up, I saw that they had one of every single other turtle. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just have to.
You went crazy.
I just have to go snag these at retail price.
Oh my god.
I mean, we almost spent like $200 on just getting these 4 guys before, and I'm like, well, they're only like, they were like $12.50 at retail price or some shit like that. So I was like, okay. But anyway, yeah, so there'll probably be some more toy focused things going up on the Knobbywood stuff. Also, I'll probably do a couple more video game related stuff, kind of get back out there and also kind of boost, try to like signal boost the games that I've been working on too, to kind of like get them back out there on people's. They're doing fine by themselves, but I haven't done a lot of that, and I feel like I worked on these things, so I should probably show people
like the stuff you posted from the your Newgrounds account.
Not that stuff necessarily, but the ones for the indie game developers that I've done like the box art for, and the one I'm doing like comic, like in-game comics. He's got like the little panels as like little hidden Easter eggs throughout his game. They're both Metroidvanias, which is what I like in terms of old school video games and stuff like that. So that's why when they came to me, I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'll help you with your Metroidvania game. I've always wanted to make those anyway, so this is my way of just contributing in some way towards those things. But
so cool that you're able to really hone in exactly toys, video games, and comics right into the work that you're paid for. So it's all from putting it out there, putting exactly what you like out there.
It helps to, like, I mean, you've got like your style, you've got this sort of like renegade art, like cartoony, like offbeat criminal aspect to it, right? Like it's sort of not criminal, but like you know, anti-hero, I guess is sort of like a better word. But like you have like these things that are very much like themes that reoccur in your work, and also the style in general is just like, oh, that's fucking Alex, right? Like you've nailed your style, which is awesome. And that's hard to find, but like I was going through these exercises where it's like kind of helping to refine your style, and again it's stuff I already knew, but like it helps to reaffirm, and seeing the stuff like down on paper and actually writing it out as opposed to like just having it tumbling around your head really helps put it in perspective.
And from the right people, right?
From
the right people.
And one of the things I did was one of the exercises was basically like making these almost like vision boards, but you know, you can make folders on your desktop or collect clippings or pictures. But I used Pinterest, and you just kind of go through and do a board. What did we do? There were all sorts of boards. I forgot what it was. It was like your experiences, so like things that you experience like throughout your life. For me, it was like, you know, Boy Scouts and going on hikes, mountain biking, skate parks, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And then there was your identity, like you make a bunch of pictures of your identity, so things like maybe the hospital you were born at, or you know, aspects about both your parents and that kind of stuff. And then it was like fill out a couple other boards with different things that are like that. And then you go through and you look through these things and you write down like 5 things you liked about each picture that you put in this board, and why you think you chose that picture for that board. And you write all these down, and you go back over and you kind of like underline the reoccurring themes and stuff like that. And for mine, it was like my style. It came out, I was like, oh, well, that's exactly what it was. But mine, it came out clean, fun, quirky, and nostalgic. It was like, oh, it's right there. Like each one of those things definitely like shows through in every single one of my pieces. It was ridiculous. But yeah, like it's fun to do those little exercises, and I think that kind of helped me kind of gear up and get ready to start doing this new, like, all right, get back on the grind, Knobbywood kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just put myself back out there. I've still got like jobs that I'm working on. I'm currently doing some artwork for this accounting firm that is like setting up NFTs.
That's a big market right now, I'm seeing.
Yeah. And it's kind of helping me like understand. I'm still like, I'm not like one side of the fence or the other about NFTs. Like people are either like, I'll punch you in the face if you like it, or I'll punch you in the face if you don't, kind of thing. And I'm sort of like, I don't know. I think there's still a lot that needs to be figured out about it, but it could be cool, but it might be something stupid. I don't know. Either way, I'm getting paid real cash to make artwork, which is something I was already doing. And that's kind of like my contract with any kind of freelance thing, is like, you know, you are paying for this artwork and you get to use this artwork for your own purposes and that kind of stuff. But the option to get paid in cryptocurrency came up, and the guy that's like, you know, like kind of helped me get this job and is kind of sort of acting as a mediary for me, but also just, you know, just kind of like laying it straight. He was just like, until you can start paying for your groceries with cryptocurrency, I think we'd prefer USD. Appreciate it. I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, I'm not like opposed to it. Like I might be like, yeah, maybe like just a little percentage of this next
or royalties
chunk or something like that. Yeah, and we're definitely working out royalties with it too, because it's like still my artwork, but and that's one of the things that's like kind of scary to navigate, because there's just so much rampant fraud right now in that market, which is why it's so like volatile, and why a lot of people are so like angry about it, and that one of the reasons why people get angry about it. So yeah, like I don't know, it's an experience. I trusted the guy that got me into it. Like he's a really cool creative person himself. He's actually a musician, but he's doing the writing. It's like a comic kind of thing, and he's actually writing the comic. And then I'm doing the pencils, and then possibly like, so they're like doing a pitch or something like that and getting more funding. So if they get the green light on that, then we might be able to bring on Joran to do inks and colors, which would be great.
amazing.
Because I love to, you know, spread the love where I can, kind of deal. So, and he mentioned he might be interested in doing something like that. So
Very cool. Yeah.
And the subject matter isn't like anything that like I'm like afraid to put my name on necessarily. It's not like, you know, fucking weird tech bro bullshit, but
Yeah.
it's like it's weird and out there, but like in a sci-fi, like a quirky like 70s sci-fi way, like, oh, the, you know, this corporation's ran by space lizards kind of deal. But
Yeah, it's unfortunate that there's a stigma to the crypto and cryptocurrency, because there's so much you can do with it. You know, never has there been a time that artists, digital artists, can make money off of fucking JPEGs and GIFs, and also, like, I forgot what was I gonna say,
but yeah, it definitely has a weird stigma to it. Like, and I kind of get some of it. Like the environmental impact stuff definitely kind of concerns me. That definitely raises some of my personal flags. But also at the same time, like thinking about it, I'm like, well, when I get prints, like how, you know, and I'm doing it on this much paper, like, and then they have to like deliver it, and there's gas to like deliver, and not only the trees and blah blah, you know, like I'm like, well, how much damage is that doing? So like, how much damage am I actually doing with some of these certain, or are some of these things doing? I hear some of it is pretty substantial. Like I get the CO2 things, but I think that's kind of because it's new, and people are still figuring out like more optimized ways to provide this energy, or at least for optimized ways for these things to be run through, so they don't utilize as much energy and that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
that's beyond me. That's like the tech that like I'll never understand. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. No, but like there's so much cool stuff that they're doing with crypto space. You can do it's basically you can do anything, you know.
Yeah. And like the sky is really the limit with it. And that's the ones that like I find more interesting. And one of the reasons why I was more like, oh, this is kind of a cool thing, because like what they're doing is they're building out kind of like a universe with these tokens, so to speak. And that's already been said and done, but like they're doing it like a choose your own adventure style comic too. So it's going to be like interactive in this sense. And then like
create video games, and it's cool because they work in phases. You know, they sell the NFTs, and then they get enough funding to create some sort of game or website or platform, and then you know, and it keeps going, you know, with the funding. And it's just really, I find it really interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It definitely is.
But dude, it's also another like source of stress for me.
Oh god, right.
Like it's like another social media stress with NFTs, like all these artists making like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, oh my god, I missed out, you know. But
yeah, but like I don't know, like you got to follow up on it. Like how stable is their, you know, their wealth, right? Like they're like making millions of dollars, but like, are they cashing out right away and now they're just millionaires? Or is it like that's their worth at the time at that article? I don't know. Like I'm not doing the research on it, but yeah, like my feed is also, because I'm doing research on NFTs, my Google feeds and bullshit is always full of like, this 12-year-old made fucking $4.3 million with, I'm like, Yeah.
I know I personally know, like, I can say like 4 artists that I met and known over, just like through galleries or through whatever, through social media, that I've had personal interactions with before this NFT thing happened, and they
yeah right, yeah, that's
but
blowed up
it's okay. It's okay.
but
There's other
yeah, like
opportunities and other things,
it's interesting, like I'm that's not something I'm seeking, right? I'm not looking for that like get rich quick kind of thing, like, but it is fascinating. Like, if I did get rich quick, I wouldn't hate it, I don't think. I think I have a couple of things, I would probably start doing, pay off all the bills, right? Like pay off the house, do all that cool shit. But still, I think I'd rather just, make something I know is stable right now. But I don't know, like that's another thing about taking this job, is it's kind of like dipping my toes in, and I get kind of like in my foot in the door of how these things are running, because the firm, the accounting firm, they're legit. Like they're, like they're very organized. They have their own Discord, which is like filling up with investors and all this crazy shit. So like, I don't know, like it's a lot of information to bring in, especially for somebody that's not like very intuitive with that kind of thing, and number oriented, right? Like I'm very just picture oriented. So
well, that's great, and that's another good thing for people to know about the, depending on your alignment with the crypto NFT stuff, it's another avenue for artists to make money.
Yeah, for sure.
Freelance, you can create artwork for NFTs. So that's good to know.
That it is creating more jobs for artists. So I don't hate it for that, for sure. I don't hate that. It's interesting. So that's all I can say about it. I have no like real insight into it, except for like, okay, it's a growing thing. We'll see if it sticks around.
All right, man. Well, I feel like covered a lot. Anything else you want to share?
I mean,
tips and tricks.
It helps to have some kind of financial backup, be that a spouse or like saved up money before you decide to like go all in.
Great. That's great.
Not everybody has the same opportunities, so I get that, but just be cautious with it. But also I think final words would be it's art. You started doing art because it was fun, so just try to remember that when you're in the pit.
Awesome, dude. That's perfect. Fucking love it. Thank you. This was super fun, Bobby.
Yep, that was super fun, Alex. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we sign off, or what? How do we
stop recording and then
all right, yeah,
goodbye again.